Kids take their music seriously. By the time they reach elementary school, they're little encyclopedias of rock and pop music. But most know little about classical music and even less about concert hall music written by women. That's changing for a group of students at 3 elementary schools in western Massachusetts. For the past few months, they've been corresponding with women composers from all over the country. Charlene of member station WFCR reports that they've been getting letters like this.
Dear Lindy and the other students of Mr. Hines' music class, thank you for your interest in women who write music. It is certainly true that there are very few female composers, but young people like you can change the situation by talking about women who write music. You will begin to understand that composing is an activity anyone can choose to do.
11-year-old Anna Devers Scanlon attends elementary school in Rowe, a small town located in the foothills of the Berkshire Mountains of western Massachusetts. She got her letter from composer Janice Gatek, who teaches at the Cornish School of the Arts in Seattle, Washington. It's one of more than 70 received by students in Ed Hines' music classes. The women also sent samples of their work. Gatek included a CD of music she wrote as a tribute to friends she's lost to AIDS.
So what is the mood that is established in the music? Is there one?
Yeah.
Okay, Anna?
It's very expressive. It's like she was getting her emotions out when she was doing this. It's like...
Yeah, she could have been in a bad mood, and then...
Do you think that might have anything to do with the statement she made on the back of the record?
Yeah, maybe she was like mourning or something for some...
Over someone that
died. For somebody
yeah,
that
maybe
died.
for someone in her family died of
Okay,
AIDS.
let's get one person. Lindy.
Maybe somebody died of AIDS.
Okay.
That was like a loved one or something.
Yeah.
Music teacher Ed Hines has used a number of innovative methods to turn his 4th through 6th graders on to contemporary music. His students have composed their own music for a band made up of instruments they created from pieces of junk. They've also written music to the latest newspaper headlines. Hines is a composer himself whose work is heavily influenced by Turkish music. He's also had his students perform one of his pieces.
My gut tells me that classroom music does not include contemporary music, and it should. It's a lot of it is very, very listenable, very accessible, and a lot of fun.
Although he's exposed his students to a lot of different music over the years, Hines says this year he decided that something was missing.
It occurred to me that the music I have brought into my classroom over the years has been by the guys. You know, the dead guys to be exact. I just felt it was time for a change. And when I announced to the classes that we were going to study the music of women composers, you should have seen the hands go up, you know, and sort of the victory sign from the girls. You know, it was a good feeling.
But he had a hard time finding the music he needed for the project. So Hines asked his students to write letters to more than 100 women composers around the country. Soon, responses and tapes began arriving at the children's homes. Because most of Hines' students were unfamiliar with classical music, they found much of it strange, but some of it made them laugh, especially a piece called Bee, I'm Expecting You, an Emily Dickinson poem set to music by singer and composer Deborah Kavash.
Bee, I'm expecting you. Was saying yesterday to somebody you know that you do.
Deborah Kavash teaches at California State University Stanislaus in Turlock. She says Ed Hines is doing just what she advises her own students to do.
the majority of our students in the music department will become elementary and secondary music teachers. And I constantly tell them, please expose your students to as much music as you possibly can, because if you don't, I don't know where they're going to hear it. And if you don't train them early, they won't have the inclination to want to listen to good music.
Kavash composes most of her work on commission, but she also writes music that she performs herself, and that's what she sent to 11-year-old Tracy Matusko.
At first I thought it was pretty weird, and then after a while I listened to it a lot and I liked it. It was different and it was funny.
Composer Joan Tower, probably the best known participant in the project, teaches at Bard College in New York. Tower sent the students an orchestral work called Island Prelude, which Leonard Slatkin and the St. Louis Symphony premiered in 1989. Tower says she's not surprised to hear that 11 and 12-year-olds like her music.
That age group is so unbiased, and they're so creative and accepting of, if they hear something they like, they don't have the kinds of biases that the older generations have. I don't actually make distinctions between audiences, children, educated audiences, non-educated audiences, rural versus urban. I think music has a kind of a encompassing language that reaches a lot of people the same way.
Composer and pianist Emmylou Deemer has been writing music for more than 60 years. The music she sent is called Space Suite. It was inspired by Carl Sagan's television series, Space. Deemer's compositions may be familiar to piano students, but like most of her female colleagues, she works in relative obscurity. Only a handful of women, Amy Beach and Clara Schumann among them, have achieved name status in the music world. So Deemer says she was delighted to hear about Ed Hines' project from student Brendan Luttrell.
We live in a rather conservative country, and it takes quite a while for new ideas to filter through, and I think it's wonderful that this class and that Brendan took an interest, in music by a contemporary composer. It doesn't hurt anyone to be stretched mentally, and that's what happens when you study any complex and carefully put together work of art.
While they may have started thinking in new ways, the students didn't all become classical music converts. Some still call it weird and dumb and say they'll never listen to it again. But most were intrigued by the music they studied, and many want to hear more. That makes this project a rousing success, according to composer Deborah Kavash.
I would be the first to say that there's a lot of contemporary art music that's dreadfully boring or perhaps not terribly well crafted. And on the other hand, there still is quite a bit of really fine quality music out there. And unless you hear it, how in the world could you ever get an idea that you would like it or not?
Ed Hines is doing his best to make sure that others get a chance to hear this music. He plans to donate all the tapes the kids receive to public libraries in their communities. Hines says he'll continue to encourage these budding composers, and who knows, the next Amy Beach or Joan Tower could come from one of his classes. For National Public Radio, I'm Charlene Coe.